Alright, I'll call the selectmen meeting back. Looking for, actually, let's just stay in public hearing. No, that was a public hearing. Approval of the agenda.
I've got a RSU 21 meeting.
I'd like to, I have just one correction on the bottom. I neglected to have payroll warrant on here as well. We got payables
And payroll.
and payroll.
Anyone else? Seeing nothing.
Who was the minute?
Motion by Dan.
Second.
Second by Bell. All those in favor? Now the public forum. Anything from the public? Seeing none. Minutes, February 24th.
Motion we approve as written.
I'll second.
Motion by Dan, seconded by Tom. All those in favor? Mr. Dubois.
All right. March 2nd, RSU School Board meeting. Public comment, somebody had stood up and made a comment about, they were concerned about the Finance Committee talking about removal of SROs. I'm not sure what they changed, but, I guess that was part of their discussion, so somebody, at the elementary schools, so somebody stood up, kinda made a comment on that. Phil and Megan, gave a quick presentation on the, MEAs, and, as was kind of what you heard tonight, science, math, ELA, all of those averages are up above state average. Pretty much all the categories are that way. And there were some concerns with students on IEPs. Apparently the state of Maine is one of the highest students count with IEP disability, so there was some concerns and some discussion about that. Consent agenda items, there was the retirement of Patricia Bork, bus driver, retirement of Eileen Harris, special education consultant, retirement of Demetra Hearn, special education speech therapist at NLD, retirement of Linda Matuccio, administrative assistant KES, retirement of Suzanne Naughton, school nurse KCS. There was an approval of an overnight trip to Tops L Farm for the high school varsity lacrosse team. Retirement of Beth Keyser, a teacher of computer technology at KHS. Superintendent report, he gave a kind of quick update on what they're doing for the coronavirus. We just kind of talked a little bit about this. There's a diversity and equity inclusion meeting, a regional meeting. There are 9 staff, folks that are going there. And they talked about the enrollment meeting that we had tonight, that it was well attended at Kennebunk-Port. Kendra talked a little bit about a 44-hour reply to emails. I guess there are times when the board pretty much gets inundated with emails and they have a policy to reply back to those emails within 48 hours, and I guess there was a few issues with a couple that didn't happen. The next finance committee is, I didn't write the date down, but the next meeting is to go over the superintendent recommendations. I guess there's some things with board member stipends. They want to talk a little bit about board member stipends. Mike, on the facility side, talked about a planning guide, and then for the sports building, they only had one RFP for the master build, one back for the excavation, and none for the KCS, none for the for the build out, and yeah, that's that. Then they got into a very long discussion on legal services. As we all know, their legal services changed. They got into a long discussion on whether an RFP should be submitted by the superintendent. Should they hire somebody else to go do that? It was just kind of very, very long, lengthy discussion. They finally came up with that the superintendent is going to kind of work an RFP out, bring it to the board, and then they could kind of look at that. I mentioned that we just went through the same process, you know, if they needed to, maybe they could reach out to you to see what we use for an RFP. I know that things are a little bit different, but it's, you know, some of it might be the same. Let's see, human resources, they talked about, the search firms for the, superintendent. They've invited 8, 5 have responded, and they've kind of created a Rubik's, evaluation form. They're gonna start, bringing those in, and their plan is to recommend to the board on April 10th who they want for, or who they recommend for a firm, to search for the superintendent. Let's see. Cafe meeting at Arundel, they had a cafe meeting here, last month, and that was attended by only one Arundel resident, Mr. Reeds, and, I guess there were a couple of other members from out of town, but, Jack, Jack and Joyce were the only Arundel residents that attended that cafe meeting. I had planned on it, but I was sick and just didn't want to spread my germs, so. Maureen brought up some legislative policies that were in the works, and, after that, they, went into an executive session.
That's it. Yes, sir. Manager?
Yeah, just a few things very briefly. If you haven't seen already, Dan this past weekend did a great job of taking some video of the building as it's being constructed. And, they were a lot better than the pictures that we probably could set up, but, at this point, all the exterior walls are up, some of the interior walls are up. The trusses are, will be delivered, by the end of this week. They expect within the next 2 weeks that things will be sort of buttoned up. The windows are right behind the trusses when they come, so they'll have that enclosed. One of the things we talked about at the meeting on Tuesday was the color combination. And what I said is that the renderings that we receive, which have been exposed to the public, seem to be the most, I think nobody objected to the color scheme with the red barn and the rust colored building and the trim to tie it all together. What we are gonna do though is put up some blotches of that on the side of the building, we'll do it on a 4x8 sheet. So you can at least, if you drive by, you can see what the color scheme will be. We may receive comments on it, we may not, so I'm sort of just gonna leave it like that at this point.
And those pictures are actually on the Arundel website also. John put them up on the Arundel website. So if anybody
I
wants
saw
to-
that on the website as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pictures
you
and
go on
video.
there and click on the video and you can see the whole thing. Jack Turco talked to me via email about maybe getting the committee together to take a walk through the building. Now that we're into, having more light at 5:30 in the afternoon, that may be a great, possibility. So Jack's gonna come in and see me this week, and we'll try to throw out some time. So if anybody wants to walk through, we'll have either Luke or the supervisor of the framing crew is Al Nickerson. Al could perhaps be there and walk us through the building, so we'll work on that this week as well. Just a reminder, tomorrow night is your another upcoming budget meeting. We'll start at 7 o'clock here. I provided the agenda and the reference material that we'll be working on. It should have come to you last week via email. So if you don't have it, I'll send it out again tomorrow.
You'll have copies of all that here.
I'll have, I'll bring copies with me so everybody can have it. The status of the fire engine pumper, it's presently in Auburn. It has been, the Arundel, reflective material that has to go on it, and the sign package has been put on the truck. The torque gun that came off 301 has been placed on the truck sometime either today or yesterday or last week. And so they'll finish wiring that. We expect the truck to be here probably by the end of the week. I will give you out a quick email to tell you. And I think at the end of the day, we'll probably have the truck here on the meeting of the 23rd. So if we want to take some time and just take a look at the truck and, you know, look at its functions and all that, we can do that evening. And finally, under managers stuff, Roger's here tonight, and we had an opening of the plow bids on, was it Wednesday or Thursday of that last week?
Wednesday.
And I gotta tell you, a very robust group of vendors. We had companies Peterbilt, Kenworth, Freightliner, Western Star, and International. So, and then we had two different body companies, both Viking and HP Smithfield provide us stuff. So there's a bunch of things, and Roger will go through what we've discovered today and sort of where we're going with it.
As you are aware, this is basically from this whole process was with the grant from the Volkswagen settlement, which they paid $3 billion in a fine. It was based over 2 years. They had 2 rounds. This is the second round. We were selected for one new truck. The original setup was budgeted for $175,000 for a complete truck. $140,000 of that would be from the grant, 35 would be our share, 100%, which, if we can make this happen, this is a wonderful deal for the town. The problem we have with the grant is the fact that you cannot do anything until DEP awards us a contract, which is gonna be on or around the 1st of May, which brings a time frame into problem. Because if you do one of these trucks that you have to order, say a 2021 truck, by the time that truck comes in and then goes to one of these vendors, there's a real good chance this thing won't cross notice on it. Even once you have that all accomplished, if you do have a truck sent out, before you get any money on the grant, you have to render the existing truck inoperable. And I got pictures if anybody wants to see it. You gotta drill 2 holes through the side of the block, 3 inches in diameter, 3 rails off, right behind the gap. So, you have to scrap that part of it. You can put it up to bid, do whatever you want. The scrap, we can actually maintain all the rest of the gear, so we get to keep that. So, for the future, that will work. Some of these, luckily, are in the process of being built right now. Freightliner came in and they gave us 5 different proposals. 4 trucks being equipped, 2 at HP Fairfield and 2 at Viking. There's other trucks, we actually had somebody bring a truck down and we looked at it, it meets our spec. This is far from being a Cadillac, it's kind of a middle of the line fleet truck. There's no bells and whistles on these things. The best deal that appears to be for us is a truck that's already in construction, sitting at sitting at Viking's shop, which it's a Freightliner. I've got a meeting with the rep from Viking and Freightliner tomorrow, because the way these trucks were, they build demo trucks and just put them out there, and somebody buys them. They're not exactly to our spec, meaning they have different weight setups on them, different controls on the plows, all that. So what we're trying to do is to finagle a deal with Freightliner, which is that 166,953 for a complete truck, and have them build it to our specs instead of what they had started to do as far as the demo part of it. The difference being the wing controls on them. We run a full wing tower box so that you can shelf snow when we actually get that much. We have in the past, but it's a much more rugged system. The patrol wings have another kind of unique feature, that you can actually put down pressure on a wing. Think about that when the roads are not froze. And you could have a pretty good sized pile of scrap iron and some real severe road damage if this thing catches up, so. What we're looking to do is talk to them tomorrow to give us an agreement. They've already agreed to bend a little bit on it, so they will get this particular truck to our spec for that price. If we have to order a truck, I don't believe it's gonna be in our best interest timeframe wise. So what we're looking for is basically, we can't write a PO, we can't do exchange any money, no money down or anything like that, because that'll violate the way the grant's set up. You can't do that, you can't put any money down.
Even the difference, you couldn't put the difference with the grant and
I
what?
don't think so.
As soon as you do that, you've committed funds, and they are adamant about that. The DEP is actually writing the contracts to these towns. So anyway, what we're looking for basically is your approval, and if I go to them tomorrow and say, look, I've got a tentative approval, and this is tentative only. If they say no tomorrow, I'm gonna be back. But basically, you can't even really, you could write a PO contingent upon Volkswagen funds on or about May first.
So if we give you the okay, what's the process going, what do you need to contact somebody, or?
They're coming to our shop tomorrow, the rep from Viking.
Yeah, I'm
And the
talking
rep from
about
Freightliner.
the DEP, the.
All we have to do is sit and wait for the person from DEP, and I've got the name of the person, I already talked to her. And at that point, they will contact us about the 1st of May, when the funds, they're sitting in a trust fund. But quite frankly, there's a lot of fingers in this pie.
I'm sure there
From
is.
the feds, down to the DOT, down to the DEP, to us. So, seven towns were awarded trucks, the rest were all buses, out of 98.
So you say there's a lot of hands in this, but the money is ours, right?
Correct.
I mean, it's,
I have a notice of
yeah, okay.
an award from them.
Right.
So,
But they won't release, as Roger said,
They
they
won't
won't
release
release the
anything
money
until
until
May
May first, but if we have a package that meets our specs, that goes by the recommendation that Roger has here now, we can present that to them, say, hey, look, you release the funds, this is what we're going to purchase, and then they'll give us an okay, and we can move forward with the project.
there's about a half a dozen trucks that are being built right now. There's also a half a dozen other towns gonna buy a truck.
Yeah.
What's the time when you had to destroy the engine? Do you get the money?
Prior to
Prior
receiving,
to, great.
Yeah.
prior to receiving any money, this is what they say you gotta do to the frame rail.
And actually cut it in half.
And there's a picture of an engine before and afterwards. That's what you have to do to receive this money. They don't, this is a cash for pumpers deal, folks, and it's to get this old iron off the roads.
Right.
This is a 96 truck that's being replaced.
What's that, Phil?
But we have to destroy this truck before we get the money for the
Oh,
new
yeah.
truck. So if something happens, we don't get the money for the new truck.
Yeah.
Once this is all done and we have a contract from the DEP and everything is go, I mean, you're safe at that point. But before you actually receive the check, and it's the DEP, we had to bill them the last time.
Right.
When we got that Dutch Brook box culvert, everything was done, project was done, and we're waiting for money, and finally we said, how come this check hasn't come in? Oh, well, you have to invoice us for that.
Yeah, I know that. We'll certainly invoice them immediately after May
Yeah.
first on this one.
So your thought process is it's best to go after this demo, because if we don't, we won't make it. There's a certain time restrictions on when we can get that
Freightliner
funds.
did tell me that if we have to order a truck and it's not ready prior to snow, and you've already destroyed your other truck, they always take trade-ins. He says if it comes to that, we will give you a truck that we have taken in trade-in to get through the winter. So I thought that was
Wow.
pretty good.
Yeah.
But if you get an okay, Freightliner will,
They will hold on to this thing.
Yeah.
Viking will build it according to our specs and not the demo specs, which, it's not a big difference, but it's the patrol wing thing. Which, my whole process behind this is to change that patrol wing, is it's separate wing arms than what we have, those things are $1,000 a piece. plus the hydraulic cylinders on it. We've got other ones sitting on the shelf for spares that will fit on our standard set. What I actually wanted to do is sell us this truck without a plow and get a plow from the other vendor. Cause everything will interchange with what we
Right,
have,
right,
and
They won't do that.
they better. So all he has to do is deduct it off the total, and I already know what the plow is from the other outfit.
If you had to, how different is this than if you had to spec out if you were gonna spec out a new truck? How much difference would this be?
That virtually fits everything we've got.
Okay.
You would, and believe it or not now, all of these trucks that show up on the dealer's lots are all automatics. We put a provision in our spec so that it could be either or, and you save anywhere from $1,800 to about $3,600 to buy a standard transmission. We're having trouble with drivers right now coming in the door, never mind the process, the drive one of these.
Never mind shifting.
It's just gonna make it easier to get people in. And the other thing
Don't
too
like
is
it, but
I was amazed about the variety of projects we get. We did get bids on just truck and chassis and bodies to our specs, but this seems to be, you know, if we can get this built the way we want to at the price we're looking at, I think it comes in even less than what we do for the other
it's
one.
about $1,500 different.
but if we actually made a motion for him to go and do that, does that mess up the contract?
As long as you don't exchange any money or give out
I,
a PO that's,
yeah, I think it's more of a, yeah, go ahead. I think it's one of those more than taking a formal vote at this point. Yeah, keep going down that
Yeah.
road and then he could come back to us and say, I've got what I want. They're gonna build it and this is the price. And then we'll wait until May 1st and then we'll have you guys make a formal vote.
And the other, I mean, the beauty we have too is the other towns probably won't release any money until July 1st, because they're probably waiting for approval from the vote, right?
right.
I would think, yeah.
One of the neighboring towns, Bedford actually is gonna get one as well, but he's gonna order a truck. So it won't affect this.
If we do a tentative agreement with this company, and for some unforeseen reason, we don't follow through with the purchase, does it cost us anything?
All we need to them is a letter of intent. The sales manager there has approved that already. As long as you bring me something, I know the intent is there.
I'd say we move forward with that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Basically, what you're
Fiscally
buying
wise,
with
yeah.
any
Yes.
one of these trucks now is what you wanna look at for an emblem on the grill, and what the grill looks like, and what the dash says. Because they've got all different, I mean, you can get an International with the same engine combination, transmission rear end, as you can the Freightliner.
And
There's
they're
no
all
great
component
big
trucks.
difference anymore.
Right. The badging really doesn't mean much,
Depends on what you wanna look at.
you know.
Nice blue oval would be nice, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that-
Yeah.
absolutely.
Just stop making those, but, right?
We can change the emblem on the front.
That's a good thing.
If you want them, buy one with a whole motor and break that off, you can look at that.
I say go ahead.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like we're binding anyway.
This,
No, and this is a
push-
good deal for,
Yeah.
push comes to shove, they're gonna sell this truck. And we don't have to put any money up front, so.
You need a motion for that?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I've heard the tentative agreement, if you give me the authority to go ahead and enter into tentative agreement, I can.
We can actually write a PO, tentative upon VW funds.
Yeah.
And that will cover us. We just don't give them any money. Or even just a plain letter of intent, that's all he wants.
I think we can accomplish that.
Works for me.
Okay.
This is the first time you actually get a grant, and it's not coming out of one of your other pockets, like all these government grants.
yeah, this is nice. Definitely want to
Too
take
bad we
advantage
couldn't
of
have
that.
the second one, but.
Nice to upgrade the fleet like that in one fell swoop.
Certainly appreciate your efforts on this, Roger. Saving
No,
us
it
some
was a
good
group
money.
effort. It was a group effort.
Yeah, you guys did a good job putting together the specs and.
There's a list of all the different stuff if anybody wants to look at, who got what. Primarily all buses again. The school departments are doing well with this grant. This is the second round, there is no round three, this is it.
And they have to destroy the old school buses too.
Benefit got a few last year, and they took them down to the local junkyard, and the guy has to document everything. VIN numbers, cut the frames, do that to the engines, and scrap price. At least with a plow truck, we get to salvage the gear that's on.
In the dump cart,
Yes.
That's good.
which is all good stuff for us.
Yep.
We still have that Freightliner sitting, we talked about today, the one we got from the military. The motor's back into it, so.
Yeah, what's the status with that thing?
This changes that, so we have the luxury of putting a standard body on that and hauling all the nasty stuff we don't wanna haul. With one of these in the summertime, whether you're hauling riprap or whatever, cause those stainless bodies, they're a spreader body. It's a side dump, so you got one body inside another that tips material to a chain. Those don't like riprap or something like that, so.
They actually stainless or aluminum?
They're stainless. The floors are not, they're not hard enough to be just, they make them, but you wouldn't want it. First time you went and got a load of gravel or rock, it would be deep down.
Yeah.
So there's a new motor going in, and you're gonna repurpose that thing?
Yeah.
Instead of what you
And the
originally-
clock is already ticking on that. After 18 months, this thing don't work, we can actually sell it. So that's technically been in service for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, so we have an option there, we
Yeah.
can send it down the road, because we didn't know the VW settlement was coming in. And that was gonna be a great alternative for us at some point in the future, but we may be in a position now that, like Roger says, use it, put a dump cart on it, and use it to haul with, and then make a decision after that, what we really wanna do with it.
Once it's a complete unit, if we did decide to get rid of it, it'd be a lot easier to move than it is the way it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Roger.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll talk tomorrow. What do you need from me? You do a PO, or I can do a letter.
Might not be a bad thing if you showed up at 10.
Okay.
That meeting.
That's fine. You're gonna be at the garage at 10?
Come to our shop.
I'll see you then.
Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
New business, it's open as of now.
Yeah. I have anything tonight.
Motion, we approve payable and payroll?
Motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Velma, all those in favor?
Thanks, folks.
Night, Roger.
Bye.
Thanks again.
I don't think you get us around.
Nope.
Sign all.
Thanks for coming. It's always nice to have a crowd.
Always our pleasure.
Thank you. Very good, Justin. Anything else?
Motion to
All
adjourn.
right, motion by Dan, 8:28, seconded by Phil. All those in favor?